From 1996 to the present day. I scream, you scream, we all scream for a franchise that becomes a bit mental. These films don't just stab people, they stab at horror itself, mocking tropes like the dim-witted victim or the inevitable phone call. Sorry. Hello?
Do you like scaring movies, Jake?
No, f*** off. We are exploring each film to see how they flipped horror upside down. So without any further ado, let's get this over with. If you enjoyed this video, maybe consider subscribing, it means a lot. This is Scream, the film that got everyone scared of phone calls. Unless that's just me, maybe it's PTSD from customer service jobs. I remember the first time I watched this film and genuinely it had me on the edge of my seat because it felt more gritty and it felt like it was swaying away from the more supernatural horror of its era. It kicks off with Casey Becker, played by Drew Barrymore, who is having her resurgence at the time.
What's your favorite scary movie?
I don't know.
Mine's probably Cats. I feel like it has one of the most iconic introductions potentially in film history. Obviously there's definitely more well-known ones out there, but the introduction to Scream just feels so timeless, and I feel like there's a reason it's been mocked so many times, even though it is in itself a mockery.
Listen!
You listen, you little You hang up on me again, I'll gut you like a fish, understand?
Primarily of Halloween, I would say. It's crazy because this introduction was almost cut from the entire film, but Wes Craven, the director, really fought for it to stay in, and it's very Psycho-esque. You'll notice as these films go on, this is literally Wes Craven taken from all these different sources and piling them into this franchise, because I guess the old saying is all the best artists still. So he's definitely taken a lot of inspiration, even technically from his own work. I mean, Nightmare on Elm Street, come on now. Casey answers a random phone call that turns into a horror quiz, and it's from some creep we later dub as Ghostface. It's very spooky stuff.
Turn on the patio lights.
Oh God!
He asks her about scary movies, and Casey acts all smug until the tables are turned and she realizes, oh wait, this isn't a prank call. My boyfriend is literally outside, and he's probably gonna die. And he does. It's genuinely a fantastic opening sequence, and you can see why it's become iconic. After a little chase scene, Casey is gutted in the garden. It's grim, it's quick, and it really sets the tone. It feels like a safe, normal little town, you know? Nothing should go wrong, and so when something does, everything shatters, and effectively this is the kickstart to everything. Well, the entire franchise. Casey's murder is a really effective scene because there is an element where she can be saved. She's running up to her parents, they turn up to the house, they feel like, okay, something's wrong, and just before she makes it to them, just before, she's done. So this first Scream film really stands out because it's trying to revitalize the horror genre. And this is during a period where it is kind of stagnating under repetitive slasher tropes, so Wes Craven is like, nah, I'm just gonna do something different. Maybe I'm gonna make fun of everything. Now we have Sidney Prescott, and she's still upset from her mum's murder a year back. I mean, it's understandable. And Sidney's boyfriend, Billy, pops up. Oh, Billy. Oh, it's Billy Loomis! Billy Loomis! I bet so many guys saw girls' reactions to Billy Loomis and then they tried to act just like him and they came across as really predatory. He's such a dreamboat. He's such a bad boy. Girls be like, I don't care if he stabs people, I can fix him. Billy looks perpetually shifty, as if the film wants you to assume he is the killer. Not that he is or anything. And she starts getting these same creepy calls that Casey did. She's at home trying to cope with everything, when of course, Ghostface starts taunting her.
So where are you?
Your front porch.
I think what makes Ghostface such an iconic and effective villain is down to anonymity. You don't know who it is. Not to mention, they're not a supernatural entity. They're more grounded. They can be everyone, okay? They're not a Freddy Krueger. They're not a Jason Voorhees. It's just someone in a mask. It's very realistic. It sets the idea that these will always inherently be whodunit stories with this element of playfulness. It's a nice weekend here in England. It's very hot, so, you know, nice little cider. The keen-eyed among you may have realised that this isn't a proper Ghostface mask. No, in fact, I'm actually Ghoulface from Wish. Look, I had the costume in my cupboard for years, I knew this video was coming up, so I thought, You know. I'd say that if Chucky's design was to rip away the concept of innocence and purity from his victims, anyone who wears the ghost face costume rips away their victim's ability to trust. So at the moment, the film is giving us huge stalker vibes, okay? Sydney is getting followed by something somewhere, but she doesn't quite know who it is. So the town is buzzing, cops are completely clueless as to what's going on. We also get introduced to Dewey, what an absolute legend, probably the best character of the entire franchise.
When I wear this badge, you treat me like a man of the law.
I'm sorry, Deputy Dewey Boy, but we're ready to go.
I really hope they don't kill him off because he's such a naive, sweet person. He's such a pure soul, okay? I want him to be alive forever. And of course, Gail Weathers, a news reporter who should probably be a weather person, whose name I cannot take seriously. She's out for blood, and by blood I mean a great news story because she is a tenacious journalist. And to a good degree that's to her detriment because she tries way too hard and she makes herself look like a massive bitch. Gail is insistent that Sydney's mother was not killed by the person who was convicted, whose name was Cotton Weary.
If I'm right about this, I could save a man's life. Do you know what that could do for my book sales?
Who everyone, including Sydney, seems to think he was the murderer, and this obviously leads to tensions between Sydney and Gail.
I'll send you a copy.
And it made sense, a lot of the evidence was leaning towards Cotton, so for Sydney to hear that this wasn't actually the murderer, you can kind of see why that would set her on edge a little bit, so she doesn't really want to believe that. I do like Courtney Cox as Gail because she presents herself as very hard-headed and polished, and you literally see her break down over time. A lot of moments with her, like her scream, was completely improvised, and Wes Craven kept so much of that footage in the picture lock because, let's face it, authenticity is what you want, especially if it's screaming, and especially if it's in a horror film.
Let's go!
All of the other fodder... Sorry, I meant characters. They are all here to add the element of mystery, okay? Who is the killer? That is the question. A key part of Scream, which is laid out crystal clear for us, is a jumble of exposition from your boy, Randy Meeks. Basically, it is the rules of the franchise, and he covers all of the rules that everyone within the film must follow, which is very meta. This is literally just Wes Craven saying, okay, I know what happens in horror films, I'm self-aware of that, I'm going to tell the audience what I'm self-aware of, and then we're going to play with it. So that's kind of the purpose of Randy's character, who I call Mr. Exposition.
Why'd the cops let him go, smart guy? Because obviously they don't watch enough movies. This is standard horror movie stuff.
So Sydney gets called by Ghostface at home, they question her mum's past, they taunt her quite a lot, and then she is attacked. It's a pretty fun bait and switch because this is when Billy arrives to the scene, and of course he is arrested because it blatantly looks like he was the one doing the talking. So Dewey. And so Sydney decides to stay at her friend Tatum's house because she genuinely can't trust the person she thought she could trust the most. And so it's implied that the high rate of murders means the school gets temporarily closed, which sometimes doesn't happen in horror films, sometimes it does. It seems like in this case they did it pretty fast. Unlike in Harry Potter, where kids are literally being petrified and they don't really do anything about it. Hey look, it's Wes Craven. He's dressed as Freddy Krueger, that's cute. The more you watch these films, the more you realise how on the nose everything is. It's kind of brilliant.
Directed by his red right hand.
I don't know what it is about songs by Nick Cave, because I'm not a music expert, but what I can say is they are perfect in films. Does anyone want a raspberry? So realistically, what is the best thing to do during a local murder spree? Well, it's to round up your mates and have a party, isn't it? Damn! Dewey's being assertive. I'd love to see it from him. He's the MVP of this film. What am I on about? He's the MVP of every film. Anyways, one by one, people start to perish, and it continues to have you believe it's Billy, until you find out it isn't, because he couldn't have been at the scene of the crime. He couldn't have possibly orchestrated it. There's nothing Billy could have done. At all. So Tatum, Sydney's friend, heads to the garage for a drink, and she gets crushed by a garage door. The game is the game. As morbid as it probably is, I do like it when horror takes its time with things. I just like innovative stuff like this. I'm sure when people were watching it during the 90s, it hit really hard. Obviously, nowadays, everyone is just desensitized to everything, but I feel like it still lands. I genuinely forgot that Sydney and Billy sleep together in this. There's some sick people out there that's still going to be into that knowing what Billy's about. So shock horror, Ghostface starts picking everyone off, and Sydney is chased upstairs. It's a chaotic sequence, but it's really memorable because the mystery still lingers. You know, who is killing everyone? What it's trying to do is make us as the audience question the final girl trope, because Sydney gets placed in an almost impossible situation, which is a testament to good writing. The trick to good writing is to write yourself into corners and find viable ways to get out of those corners, you know, not through outlandish ways or lazy ways, but creative ways. When it comes to this sequence in particular, it's called the Brechtian alienation effect, which is a really pompous way of just saying we are subverting audiences' expectations of what is normal. And it's something that does get played with even more further down the line. Even the environment itself, the party house and the exterior with the cars, it adds what's known as spatial semiotics. Again, just another fancy word. Basically, each location carries a meaning in the story, and so each room you shouldn't really see as a safe space. Rather, each room has its own purpose of making you feel like, okay, is this the place Sydney's gonna die, or is it gonna be where someone else dies? And I think everything should be interlocked, which makes the space important. Some films use space really well, and other films don't, but this is a really good example of just a sequence done really well and using the environment to push the narrative forward. It makes each room Sydney goes into as unsafe as the next, and of course it juxtaposes the idea of a house being a safe place. This obviously isn't a new thing, because slashers have done this since the dawn of time, but no pun intended, Wes Craven executes it really well. And then comes the twist. Billy and Stu are the killers. Yep, there's two.
Surprise, Sydney.
This whole time we thought there was one, doubled up, there's two. These two lovable idiots have been murdering everyone. No, not Billy. Anyone but Billy. You bad boy.
I don't really believe in motive, Sid. I mean, did Norman Bates have a motive?
I mean, kinda. So in order to cover the tracks and make it seem like it wasn't them who did it, they decided to stab each other, which sounds like a brilliant idea.
I'm feeling woozy here.
They use horror films to kind of blame their spree on, and a lot of it ties to Sydney's mum. To be fair, I love the dynamic between these two. It's proper Rem and Stimpy vibes, and I guess in retrospect, you can kind of see how they've been toying with us. Billy's got this intense edge when he sneaks into Sydney's room. He's all smooth, but he's kind of pushy about her moving on from her mum's death. And it's very subtle, but it feels off. You can kind of feel like he's testing her, like he's being a bit weird about it. And plus, he's really into horror movies, and he quotes Psycho, and talks about how it's one big film. I mean, come on, the clues are there. And then you get Stu, who's really jokey and he's always acting like a goofball, but it's almost too much. It kind of speaks volumes about Stu just having less brain cells, I guess, and I guess he is more of the manic one. And then you get Billy, who's more of the ringleader, the brains behind the operation, and then you have Stu as the muscle. And of course, you can actually tell who's who by the way they clean their knife, which is really cool. It's one of those details you clock later on, and it's like, I like that. I like that. It's subtle, you don't have to notice it, but when you do, there's also the occasional moment where Billy has to cover for Stu's stupidity. Stupid. Oh my god. It's very show don't tell, which is great because it's always really fun to watch it back and dissect their interactions.
What do we have behind door number 3, Sydney?
Daddy!
Whoa.
So we meet Sydney's dad, who's been taken hostage, and he's going to be used as a scapegoat. So Sydney is cornered and she's got to figure out a way out of it. So with some quick thinking, she manages to grab the phone and turns the tables on the killers. I mean, it kind of helps that Stu's been stabbed a few times and Billy's not in a great place himself. So, you know.
Dreams.
Oh my god. So Stu gets obliterated by the TV, which is a great death, let's be honest. Did he die? Dunno. I mean, we're led to believe he died, but based on recent Instagram posts by Matthew Lillard, dunno. He's definitely not dead, and I can't wait to see him come back, but we're very far away from that point, because we're only on the first film. And of course, Gale shows up and shoots Billy. It's a scrappy win, there's blood everywhere, but it's a happy ending.
For one last scare.
And the credits roll. So Scream had this cultural impact which sparked this idea of self-aware horror, especially during the 90s, late 90s, going into the new era of horror films. And I think what makes this film so unique is its meta-narrative, okay? It still remains grounded, but it's playing with the idea of the genre. You know, it's teetering on the edge of, okay, let's have a gritty horror slasher, which is also a pretty good whodunit. And then you have the side of, okay, let's take the mick out of horror tropes, let's play with it a little bit. To me, this film finds that perfect balance. So Scream is going here in the ranking. I mean, there's no competition so far. Join me on my next video where we see where the Scream films end up. For now, thank you so much for watching and take care.